What makes you confident?
What makes me confident? I struggle with confidence.
I discovered the Blackpill almost 6 years ago. You know, back when the whole thing was just mewing and that kind of stuff. Damn, that actually makes me kind of nostalgic. But for those of you who have no idea what the Blackpill even is, it's basically an internet movement that emerged as an alternative to the blue pill and the red pill. Unlike both of those, the Blackpill tries to describe the dating market for what it actually is. Looks matter. And a lot.
You ugly as now I'm gonna be first.
No. Oh, I'm ugly.
You're ugly. You're not pretty. You're not handsome.
Look at what the f.
You're gorgeous. They were so hot. I knew you wanted.
They were so what? They were so what?
The problem is that, like every movement on the internet, it didn't stay the same. Naturally, new people kept joining and the community grew. Eventually, the message started changing with it. So nowadays, the Blackpill doesn't even feel like an internet philosophy anymore. It feels more like group therapy. You know those support groups where everyone sits in a circle crying about how miserable they are, while everyone else just silently nods? Except instead of a room with stale coffee and cheap cookies, it's YouTube, full of doomers complaining about absolutely everything while trying to sell you their worldview. Like, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but group therapy has always looked more depressing than helpful. It feels less like people trying to climb out of the hole, and more like everyone digging it a little deeper together. Maybe that kind of thing works for women, talking through your emotions like that. But I don't know. Personally, it just isn't for me. Looks kinda gay. But the Blackpill wasn't always like this. This all started back in early 2020. Y'all remember those days? Every self-improvement creator on YouTube was saying the exact same thing. Go to the gym, meditate, and take cold showers. And somehow, women would see all your effort and fall in love with you. I was really into that, but thank God, that was also around the time I stumbled across the Blackpill. More specifically, like I said, mewing nowadays. I know people massively exaggerated what it could actually do, but mewing itself isn't really important for the story. It was just the rabbit hole that led me to a completely different way of looking at dating. Like I've mentioned in previous videos, back then I was red-pilled to the core. I genuinely believed that confidence, hard work, and persistence could get you any girl you wanted, which also explains why I kept ending up in the friend zone. Then the pandemic hit. I was spending most of my time alone. So why not? I tried Blackpill. Might as well see what this whole Blackpill thing is about. I started watching videos and mewing. I basically tried everything people recommended. Back then, though, there weren't many creators making Blackpill content. The only really big names I remember were Oscar Patel and Baby Stickley. People like K Shamey or Real Dib weren't around yet. And look, I know people love talking shit about Oscar and Baby nowadays, calling them scammers and saying they didn't know what they were talking about. Those guys have real allegations against them, but one thing I can say for sure is that at least they encouraged you to do something. And I think that's the biggest difference between the old Blackpill and the new one. And this is exactly what I mean. The old Blackpill actually pushed me to become a better version of myself. Let me tell you a story. Because of everything I had been watching, I started taking better care of myself during the 1.5 years we were stuck in lockdown. I started eating better, sleeping better, working out, and I found a haircut that actually suited me. I even did mewing, even though nowadays I know it probably did little to nothing for my facial development. Basically, I did everything that was realistically within my control. But even so, it paid off. And during the pandemic, like most schools, we had online classes. So when we finally went back to in-person classes, I didn't know a single person in mine. The first week was kind of weird. Our class was way smaller than it had been online. At first I thought a bunch of people had transferred. Turns out the school was still splitting each class in half because of COVID. One week my half would attend, and the next week the other half would. I mean, they were basically testing how to bring everyone back without shutting the school down again. Anyway, I ended up making this friend group that Honestly, I still remember really fondly. There was David, the fat guy, Marco, the black guy, James, the dwarf gay guy who everyone made fun of, and last but not least, Manuel, the Canadian vampire. We called him that because he had cricket teeth. If you guys are somehow watching this, Wizard sends his regards. So this day we were cracking jokes and all of that, but like every group of teenage guys, eventually the conversation turned into, who's the hottest girl in class? Like, to be honest, in our half of the group there weren't almost any girls, so they kept saying girls from the other half, and every single time, the same name kept coming up. Dana this, Dana there, Dana, Dana and Dana. The funny thing is, I had absolutely no idea who she was, so I genuinely had no clue what everybody was talking about. Anyway, a couple weeks went by. I kept working on myself, still hitting the gym, still taking care of how I looked. Until one day, the school finally merged both groups back together. And man, I already know what some of you are thinking. Yeah, sure. Top 10 things that never happened. But trust me, bro, I would have said the exact same thing. But this thing I'm going to tell you actually happened. And for me, it felt straight out of a movie. The very first day both groups finally came together, I overslept. Not by much, but when I woke up, there were only about 15 minutes left before class started. Thankfully, I live near my school, but I panicked. I jumped into the shower, ate a single egg as fast as I could, didn't even bother making a proper breakfast, and just ran out the door. By the time I got to school, I was speed walking through the hallways, and I remember passing by 2 girls on my way to the classroom, so I didn't really pay attention to them. I was way too focused on not being late. Then I got to my classroom, and the teacher looked at me, and he shook his head and said, "No, you are late." That guy was honestly kind of a son of a bitch. I wasn't even that late, but he still refused to let me into class. So I got pissed off. I turned around and started walking back downstairs toward the courtyard. Our classroom was on the 3rd floor, overlooking the main yard. And I had barely made it halfway down the stairs when I suddenly stumbled into an angel in front of me. "Hey, wait," she said. So I looked at her, and there she was. She said, I'm not going to tell you my real name just yet. Let's just pretend she said, "You're Wizard, right?" And I just froze for a second, 'cause she was completely my type. E-girl, tall, long legs, crystal white skin. She had long black hair and a really cute face. And I swear to God, up until that moment, no girl had ever stopped me like that before, not even once. I genuinely had no idea what I was supposed to do. So I just looked at her and said, yeah, and you are?" She smiled and said, "I'm Dana, man." Then she pointed toward another girl standing a few feet away. She said, "Do you want to come sit with us?" And in my head I was just thinking, oh shit. Turns out, the 2 girls I had walked past a minute earlier were Dana and her friend. They had both watched the teacher kick me out of class, and instead of pretending nothing happened, she came over to talk to me, to invite me, which also made me realize something. She already knew who I was. Somehow, she had recognized me from online classes, even though I barely ever turned my camera on, so at least a few of those times, she must have noticed me. Anyway, long story short, I sat with them chatting for the rest of the class, and man, looking back, damn, I was so damn stupid. Actually, I still kind of am. But then I had absolutely no idea what I was doing. I didn't know how to flirt. I didn't know how to keep a conversation going. I didn't know anything, but she kept talking to me. And then, completely out of nowhere, she asked, "So, you're into mewing?" I remember just staring at her, like, "Yeah, how did you know?" She looked at me for a second and said, "Wow, you've got a sharp jawline. Man." To this day, that is still one of the biggest confidence boosts I've ever received. She ended up becoming my biggest crush for the rest of high school. We had this really weird relationship. There was always something, some kind of tension between us. but I was way too inexperienced to turn that into an actual relationship. We even went on a date once. But that's a story for another video. The thing is, looking back now, I can confidently say the black pill made my life a lot better. At least, the version of it that existed back then. And I've spent a lot of time thinking about why that is. I think it's because the people making the content were completely different. Back then, most of the big creators were chads, guys who had won the genetic lottery and who had probably never experienced rejection the way the average black pill guy had. When they made videos, they spoke from that perspective. Some of them believed anyone could become like them if they just worked hard enough, or if they did mewing or any other method. Let's be honest, some of them were just scammers and frauds. But honestly, they were wrong. Not everybody can become a chad. Some of them were probably just trying to sell you a course. Maybe that's all they cared about, but at least they were trying to push you somewhere, toward the gym or toward better style, towards better pictures, towards taking care of yourself. There was still movement. Nowadays, I realize that people making black pill videos aren't chads anymore. They're guys like me, the chuds and the incels, the people who actually lived through rejection and isolation. And that's exactly why today's black pill feels so different. It's more realistic, and sometimes in a painfully realistic way. But it also became much more nihilistic. Let me show you what I mean.
I am a 35-year-old loser. I'm unemployed with no prospects. I'm bald. And what little amount of hair I do have left is like quickly turning gray. Like my beard is pretty much all gray or white at this point. I was about to be like, but I'm gonna make it through or say something positive, but I don't really have anything positive to say, man. I'm a 35-year-old loser.
I mean, no hate to the guy. Everything he's saying is absolutely true. If you're a male sub 5, yeah, life is gonna be a hell on earth. Hypergamy is real and looks matter. And for a lot of guys, it genuinely is over. None of that is the part I disagree with. The problem is, people are getting lost in the negativity of it. And yeah, no shit, there's nothing to celebrate here, but a space that used to encourage people to improve themselves, the last remaining of the red pill, has slowly turned into a giant support group where everyone just takes turns validating each other's suffering. Nobody's trying to climb out anymore. Everyone's just comparing who fell deeper. I mean, black pill didn't disappear. It just split into two completely different movements. On one side, you've got guys like K-Shamey, people who fully understand the black pill, but still wake up every morning trying to improve their situation, whether that's through surgery, looksmaxing, money, status, or whatever they're selling. Then you've got the obese loser, the guy who's completely given up, the one who doesn't want solutions anymore. He just wants proof that life is unfair. But honestly, there's nothing wrong with either worldview existing. People have different experiences, so they see the word from different angles. But edits like this, they don't make you want to improve your life. They don't even try. They're designed to make you feel hopeless and encourage you to do rope maxing. Just think about it for a second. Who do you think is more likely to fall into the black pill? The guy who's already successful with women and has a healthy social life who barely thinks about dating? Or the chronically online chud who's desperate to experience the touch of a woman for the first time? The answer is pretty obvious. The black pill attracts losers. Black pill is for the losers. And you know what? I'm one of those losers too. I know that's a strong word, but if you really think about it, everyone is a loser at something. I'm actually pretty happy with my life, not satisfied, and there's a difference, since I'm still kind of red-pilled in that sense. But I'm always looking for ways to improve my life. I'm still saving up for surgery, still trying to looksmax, and still trying to build something. 'Cause no, I'm still a loser. I'm not successful with women. Not yet. That's one of the reasons I'm even interested in the black pill in the first place. I wanted answers. I wanted to understand why things worked the way they did. And I think the black pill gave me a lot of those answers. The problem is, a lot of people inside the community would call me words for this. Delusional, fake cell, a coper, a loser who's refusing to accept reality. And maybe I am, still. 'Cause they're right about the dating market. Maybe they're right about looks. After all, most of them have lived through exactly what they're talking about. But here's the question I always come back to. Do you really want to become this specific kind of loser? The kind that spends every day proving to himself why life isn't worth trying anymore? 'Cause I don't. I don't want to spend the next 40 years collecting evidence that I'm doomed. I'd rather spend those 40 years trying anyway. That's why I like creators like Real Dib. He's realistic, and he doesn't try to sell you blind optimism, but he also doesn't sell despair. He understands the situation he's in, talks openly about surgery, looksmaxing, and his own limitations, and then he actually tries to do something about them. And I think that's the healthiest way to approach all of this. So, if there's one thing I'd like you to take away from my story, it's this. Being a loser should never become your identity. It should only be a stage. Maybe you're so chopped you'll never experience romantic love. I don't know. Maybe that's true. But maybe you'll become an incredible writer or a loyal friend, someone your family can always count on. I don't know. That's your life. You decide whether you're going to spend it drowning in your own misery or trying to build something despite it. Anyway, I love you guys. Subscribe if you enjoyed the video.